Hi, you're welcome to ProCoder. If you like this video, please like, comment and share the video and subscribe to ProCoder channel. Okay, so in this video we'll be seeing what are the data types in C++. So the questions we'll be answering in this video is what is a data type, the different types of data and their sizes, and the usage of data types in programs as well as in real life. So first of all, let us see what is a data type. So for that, we need to see what is a variable and what is a constant. So to understand this, let us consider that we want to store a data in a program. So when we want to store data in a program, we need a variable to store data. We need something in which we'll be storing the data. So the data which we want to store is known as a constant, and the place where we'll be storing it, the name we'll be giving it, that is known as the variable. So let me show you an example. For example, if I say int a is equals to 100, what is this? I want to store a data which is an integer variable 100. And where am I storing it? I am storing it in the integer variable a. So basically a is my variable and 100 is the constant which I want to store. 100 is an integer type of constant and a is an int variable. It is a variable of data type int. So to store data in a program, we need to tell the compiler that what data type it is, like what type of data we want to store, so that it can understand that and it can store that data. So here the data type is int. So the first thing we should know to make a program is what are data types, because what do we do in what is a program? A program is basically a set of steps to make the computer do some work, and most of the times we need to store some sort of data in computer. So basically we need to store data, process data and analyze data and show outputs. So the type of data which we want to store in a program is data type. Next we'll see what are the different types of data and what size they occupy in a memory, what size they occupy in our computer memory, and finally we'll be seeing some examples of data types and their usage in real life. So let us see what are the different types of data. As you can see, there are two types of data types, primary and user defined or derived. In several places you may find that there are three types of data types, which are primary, user defined and derived. Basically some people separate the derived and user defined, but I have kept them under a single column. Why? Because derived and user defined are pretty much similar. What are primary data types? They are the data types which are inbuilt in C++. They are inbuilt in the compiler. But user-defined are the data types which we create out of the inbuilt primary data types. They are created by the user, they are defined by the user. And derived means that we simply derive a data type out of inbuilt data types or maybe secondary data types. So you can see they are similar in a sense. So now let us see what are the primary data types. So first we have char. Char is a single character. Char data type can store a single character and it occupies 1 byte size, and it takes ASCII values from 0 to 255. For int has size of 4 bytes in memory, long has size of 8 bytes, short has size of 2 bytes. So these are the ranges of int, long and short. These are the ranges up to which we can store variables. And what are int, long and short? They are basically integers. Int stands for integers. We store integer values there. Long and short has a shorter range in memory, and long has a longer range. You can store some greater numbers in long. And in competitive programming, etc., in many places you might also use long. That is used to store numbers which are basically, you can say, around greater than 10 to the power 9, you can say. So for those types of numbers, for example, we need to store 10 to the power 12 or 10 to the power 14. So there we use long. Next we come to bool. Bool takes just 1 byte, but we need to store only false or true. We can only store false or true. So if the number is 0, it is treated as false, and if we are storing a non-zero number in a boolean variable, it treats that as true. But if the number you're storing in boolean variable is 0, it treats that as false. Next we come to float. Float takes 4 bytes in the memory and it has 7 digits of precision. Precision is the number of decimal digits, that is, it is the number of digits which we can store after the decimal point. And for double, it takes 8 bytes in memory and it has 15 digits of precision. Next we come to the user-defined or derived data types. Firstly, we talk about arrays. So array is basically a collection of inbuilt data types, you can say, or even derived data types. But array is essentially a collection of a single data type. You cannot store elements of different data types in an array. An array can only store multiple elements of a single data type. For example, I want to store 10 natural numbers, the first 10 natural numbers. So I need an array of integers, or even array of short will do, because I'm only storing the first 10 natural numbers. Next we come to struct. So struct stands for structure. In structure we store variables. We can store variables of different data types. For example, I can store a variable of int and a variable of character. So it is not necessary that I can store only one data type. I can store several variables of different data types, and the data types can be derived as well. In class, so basically class contains functions also. The difference between structure and class is that it can contain variables as well as functions, and also we can change the visibility of the data members and data functions. In struct, everything is public by default, but in class the data members and everything is private by default. So the public, private, etc., we'll go into that later in some other video. But for now you can understand that in class we can store several variables and also the functions. Next we come to enum. So what is an enum? Enum basically stands for enumeration. It is basically a set of integral constants. And union, lastly we come to union. So union is pretty much similar to struct, but the difference between them is that union only takes the size of a single data member, but struct, the size of struct, array, class, enum, everything, it is the combination, it is the total sum of all their data members. But for union, it takes the size of only a single data member. So now the next question that will come in your mind is that different data types can have different sizes. So what size will a union have? So the answer is that union will occupy the size of the data member which has maximum size. Now we should clarify all of these with examples. So these are some examples. Firstly, we'll see an example of character. So you can see in a character variable we can store just a single character, that is, this is A, the letter A, and to store character we always store a single character in single quotes. We also have some special characters which are escape sequence characters. For example, /t, /r, /n. You may have seen these in a lot of places. Escape sequence characters, they are called escape sequence because they have different meaning than the normal characters. For example, the letter A is the letter A, but /t, when you write /t, it actually means a tab space. When you write /r, it actually means carriage return. When you write /n, it actually means a new line. So since their functionality escapes from the usual functionality of characters, that is why they are known as escape sequence characters. Next we come to Boolean variables. So the example of bool variable is true, or you can also say false, because true and false, these are the only things which we can store in a Boolean variable. But internally, like if you even say that bool b is equals to say 0, so internally what it will do, it will store false. It will understand that we are trying to store false in b. Next we come to int. So in int, as I told you, we can store integer variables, and the example of integer variable is 30, but we can store maximum integer variable of this value and minimum integer variable of this value. This is an assigned int. Signed means it contains, we are considering negative as well as positive numbers. There is also a data type known as unsigned int, but in that the size will differ. That will start from 0, so we'll be able to store more positive numbers there. So the highest positive number which we can store there will be 2 to the power 32. minus 1. Next we come to float. So in float we can store decimal fractional numbers basically. So decimal numbers, and the precision, as I told you, of float is 7 digits. So float and double have the same functionality almost. So we can store decimal numbers in float and double. And for integer variables we can use int, long, short, either of them depending on the size and the type of number you want to store, the size of the number you want to store. Next we come to array. So array is basically what is array? Array is a collection of same array is a collection of elements of the same data type. So basically this was an array of strings, but for strings you need double quotes. I have done single quotes here, but single quotes will not work in C++. In C++ you need double quotes for strings. For now, let us consider an array of integers. For example, I want to store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is an array which stores 5 integers. This is an array of 5 integers. Next we come to struct. So in the example of struct, you can see we have two data members. One is an integer variable of role, struct student, and that student structure has a variable role, an integer variable role, and a character array of name, and it is a character of an array of 100 characters. So these are two data members of struct. Next we come to class exam. So the name of the class is exam, and we are storing one variable, and this is a function. So this is basically marks. Marks is the data member which we want to store, and the function is void show marks, and what we are doing, we are simply printing the value of the variable mark. So what is a class? For example, let us consider a real life object car. So each car will have a different color, a different shape, a different length. So maybe we can have data members of shape, length, color, and a common functionality which is drive. So basically all objects have their own data members, but all of them share the same function. And what is class? Class is simply a blueprint of the objects. For example, this is a class which stores information about exam marks, and it has a functionality show. And what does that do? That shows us the value of the marks, whatever is the marks of the student, for example. Next we come to enum. So the example of enum, you can see enum direction, east, west, north, south. So what that does by default is it assigns a value of 0 to east, 1 to west, 2 to north, and 3 to south. As I told you, enum is a collection of integral constants. So east, west, north, and south, all of them become integral constants. But how will we use it? We'll see that later on. And union. So you can see the union test, it has three data members, int a, char b, short c. So one is an integer type of data member, one is a char data type, and one is of short data type. As seen earlier, char occupies 1 byte, short occupies 2 bytes, and int occupies 4 bytes. So union will occupy a space of 4 bytes because here int is the data member, a is the data member with the maximum size, which is of 4 bytes. So it will store 4 bytes, but at one time we can use any one data member. We can store information and read information of only a single data member from union. So that is why it is a special type of data type. Now let us see some of these things in practical. Okay. Okay, this is a program. Here you can see we have the same examples which we have seen right now. So we have the structure, class, exam, structure, student, class, exam, union, test, and enum direction. So you can see I just now added a function. There was a line that marks is equals to 100. This is illegal. We are not supposed to declare the declare the number of declare the value of any data member, because that just fails the purpose. Why are we creating a class? So that different objects can have the same data members, but the data members of each object will be different. They can be different. They are allowed to be different. If we write int marks is equals to 100, it will simply fail the purpose. So that is why I removed it from here and I made a different function, and I simply assigned the default value of 100 to marks. Now you can see the function name of this function and this class name, both of them are same. As well as this function does not have any data type. For example, this has void show, but this does not have any data type. What does that mean? This is a special type of function which is meant for classes. Every class can have a function with the same name, and there should be no data type mentioned. And this function is known as a constructor. The purpose of a constructor is to initialize the data members with some value. Okay. So what is void? Like we had seen all the data types, but we had not seen void, but I am calling this as a data type also of this function. So void is not actually a data type. It is used to mention to the function that this function is not going to return us any data. So that is why we are naming it as void. Void means there is no data type. So it is simply a keyword that tells the compiler that this function is not going to return any data. Okay, so when data types are absent, we use void keyword. Okay, so now let us see what we have done in int main. So we have made an object of the structure student, and we have made another object with the name math of exam. So exam was our class, and this is the size of operator. Size of operator in C++, it returns the size of the data type which we pass into it. So in the size of operator, I can either pass a data type, or I can either pass an object of the data type, a variable of the data type. So it will return me the size that the data type occupies, that the object occupies in memory. So here I have seen the size of int. What is the size of int that I have seen? And I have also printed the size of test. So test was my union. Let us see what all that prints, and then we are setting the roll number of this object as 1, and the name of the object as procoder, and the object is the object of the structure. So let us just run this program and see the output. So this is the output of the program. Let us see. First of all, I had printed the size of int data type, which came out to be 4. Then I had printed the size of test, and test is an object of our union, and the result is 4. The reason I have already told you earlier. Next, I had printed the roll number and the name. So this is basically the value of the roll and the name data members of structure. Okay. So the roll number is 1, name is procoder, which we had saved here. Next, I have called the show function of math. So this is how you call the function of an object of class. So math was our object of a class exam, and show was the function. So as you can see, I have done public here to make the function public. Otherwise, everything is private by default in a class. And what does that math.show do? It prints the value of marks. So I have got the value of marks as 100. And then this is direction here. So direction was the enum, and east, west, north, south. I already explained this earlier. And before calling the object of this enum, we have set it to west. You need to set the object of an enum to a particular value among the values which you have stored in the enum. Okay, and it gives me the value of west. So what is the value of west? Value of west is 1, because east is 0, west is 1, north is 2, and south is 3 by default. If you want to change the default value, suppose I don't want south as 4, or I want west as 4, suppose I want west as 4. So I have saved west as 4. Next time it will give me a different value. Next time this line will give me value of west 4. And finally, I have printed the value of direction. Direction was my enum. So the value of this is 4. So let us run this once again just to see the change in this line. So it gives me value of west as 4, and yeah, you can see value of west was 4. Earlier the value of west was 1, but now the value of west is 4. So this is how you can change the default values in an enum. So this is the end of the video. Hope you liked it, and if you liked it, then please like, share and subscribe the channel, and please like and share the video and comment below. Let me know your thoughts please, and thanks for watching.